Hey, how old are you this year?
15,
And these are your three sisters, right? How old are they?
7,
And this one?
6,
And her?
8.
6, 7, 8, and you're 15. How come you're only this tall?
I don't know.
Look at your hair, it's so faded.
This is the stark reality of many impoverished villages in China, where living conditions are extremely harsh, and many children struggle even to have enough food. A 15-year-old girl looks like she is not yet 10 due to malnutrition. Her naturally black hair has lost its color. Her younger sisters, too, are significantly smaller than their peers, a sight that is heart-wrenching. The scene comes from a local wedding in an impoverished village in China's Daliangshan region. The rudimentary village comprises primitive dirt roads, with people living in houses made of clay. The groom's room is almost bare, devoid of furniture. The diet is simple. A plastic bucket filled with tofu soup seems to be a luxury for the locals, with beef being an extravagant item at the wedding.
There's a wedding feast. You guys should eat. Eat up. Let's go down and have some wine. It's so lively with so many people. The groom, right? Hello, hello. Come on in for some food. Come and sit. Sure. Let's take a tour. Have a look around. Have a taste of our cooking. Oh, okay, sure. We'll take a look. You guys sit down. We'll get you some tofu soup. Haha, no need to be so formal. Check if there's still any beef left. Probably not. No, it's not necessary to be so formal.
How many impoverished people are there in China? According to media reports, in 2016, then CCP official Chen Shuan stated in a seminar that based on the World Bank's 2012 standard of $1.90 per person per day, China had 87 million people in poverty. He also noted that in 2012, according to our own standards, the rural population living in poverty was 99 million. Despite the CCP's claims of complete poverty alleviation, such scenes are still prevalent in rural China today, making it hard to believe the heavily publicized poverty alleviation policies. Even the late former premier, Li Keqiang, had stated that 600 million Chinese earn a monthly income of only 1,000 yuan, that is just $140. In other words, nearly half of China's population earns just over 10,000 yuan a year, that is $1,400, barely the price of an iPhone 15. This harsh reality is evident in the many impoverished mountain villages, where the situation is far worse than that of these 600 million people. Many find it hard to believe such poverty exists in China. The CCP, with its global brand strategies like Huawei and the Belt and Road Initiative, creates an image of a powerful nation, showcasing advanced technology and developments. But behind this facade lies a brutal truth. Despite China's capability to manufacture phones, cars, and undertake larger projects, why is there reluctance to improve these villages? A video illustrates the issue. It shows a poverty alleviation bridge in a poor area in China, with a project sign indicating an investment of about 482,000 yuan. However, no construction is evident around the sign, only a small bridge made of wooden planks. It's speculated that much of the 480,000 yuan was embezzled by local officials. Such corruption is common in China, where officials pocket public funds, spending little on projects that supposedly aim to alleviate poverty or disaster relief, providing no substantial help to the people. There are many similar cases, like Jianhu, a poverty-stricken county in Guizhou, spending 86 million yuan on a statue of a Miao goddess. The county erected the world's largest statue of the Miao goddess Yang Asha. Official responses claim it was built with financing, but netizens skeptical of the official narrative accuse the authorities of stupidity and corruption for undertaking such a project. Reports say the statue, built in 2017, has a 66-meter-tall figure on a 22-meter base. The county was a national-level impoverished county until March 3, 2020, when it was removed from the poverty list. In January 2018, the government website of the Chendongnan Miao and Dong Autonomous Prefecture announced that Jianhu County would develop new tourism industries and eco-friendly growth. An odd phenomenon in China is that the poorer the region, the more government officials are employed, and their salaries constitute a higher percentage of the local fiscal income. Media reports in 2023 highlighted a particularly impoverished area in the Wumeng Mountain region in southwest China. A poverty-stricken county, there was found to have a staggering public servant salary budget of 2 billion yuan for staff on the payroll, 5 times the county's tax revenue in 2022. According to a budget provided by the county's finance bureau, the total salary budget for 2023 was an incredible 2.63 billion yuan, with 2 billion yuan for staff on the payroll, 170 million yuan for retirees, and 460 million yuan for off-payroll temporary workers. The county's tax revenue in 2022 was only 414 million yuan, yet the payroll staff's wages alone were 5 times the annual tax revenue. The budget shows about 28,806 temporary workers, averaging an annual income of 16,100 yuan. The 15,580 payroll staff, however, average an annual income of 128,300 yuan. It's perplexing that a poverty-stricken county would have a salary budget of over 2 billion RMB. Firstly, the number of temporary workers nearly doubles the payroll staff, yet their wages total only 460 million RMB, while the far fewer payroll staff receive 2 billion RMB, over 4 times that of the temporary workers. Secondly, how can the government afford a total wage bill of 2.63 billion RMB with only 414 million RMB in annual tax revenue? According to the government's budgeted income, it would take at least 4 to 5 years to finish paying the staff's wages, yet this is done in just 1 year. Additionally, the administrative structure differs between China and the US. In the US, a county is a second-level administrative division under a state, often equating to a prefecture-level region in China. However, in China, a county is just a collection of a few villages. How can such a small region generate such substantial tax revenue and wage budgets? Thus, the corruption and embezzlement issues in China's impoverished counties cannot be ruled out. In impoverished villages and towns, issues of corruption are compounded by an excessive workforce, with many employees having little to do. Questions arise as to why so many non-staff personnel are hired when wages already significantly exceed local fiscal revenues. According to reports, a Finance Bureau official stated that temporary workers are hired for 2 main reasons. Some are based on policies from higher government levels, like forest rangers and assistant police, while others are hired by county-level departments for specific needs, such as drivers and cooks. Some temporary workers have effectively become long-term employees. Reports indicate that in this county, the recruitment and management of non-staff personnel lacks centralized oversight, with hiring typically following a whoever needs people, hires people principle. This approach bypasses the need for approval or record-keeping by personnel, finance, and organizational departments, leading to haphazard recruitment processes, uncontrolled staff increases, and compromised staff quality. It's challenging to eliminate favoritism and relational hiring in such a system, leading to a mixed and unsystematic workforce. Comparing the county's wage budget to its total expenditures reveals that its general public budget income cannot cover the wage expenses of its financially dependent staff. The continually increasing number of such staff imposes a heavy burden on county-level finances. In actual fact, it has always been considered a joke when the Chinese government claims that the Chinese people have been lifted out of poverty. Reports indicate that since Xi Jinping's rise to power in 2012, the CCP has boasted about lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty, claiming to have alleviated poverty for over 800 million people since 1990. However, these figures conveniently overlook the millions who perish due to disastrous agricultural collectivization policies in the 1950s. China's economic performance has remained lackluster compared to Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, a fact the CCP seldom acknowledges. The reported figure of 850 million people lifted out of poverty by the CCP begins count from 1978, conveniently omitting the first 30 years of its rule. To mark the centenary of its founding, the CCP has calculated the 1978 poverty line based on the World Bank's 2011 absolute poverty standard, which is about $1 per day. By this measure, 850 million, or 87% of China's population, were in poverty in 1978. Research, led by former UN senior economist for China, Bill Bacales, suggests that Xi Jinping's targeted poverty alleviation campaign involved statistical fabrication. This campaign ignored over 63% of China's urban population and those who fell into poverty after its commencement. Moreover, the poverty line set by the CCP is significantly lower than that of other countries at similar developmental stages. Based on the above factors, it is clear that the Chinese Communist Party has not helped the Chinese people escape poverty, but rather has hindered poverty alleviation. The CCP claims to have eradicated poverty in China in a bid to maintain its legitimacy and mask the significant role its policies played in exacerbating poverty in the earlier decades of its rule. The proclamation of poverty elimination, especially in the wake of huge economic losses caused by the pandemic, serves to glorify Xi Jinping's achievements and distract from the country's problems. Beijing had once published a white paper describing Xi Jinping's poverty eradication policy as a historic first in thousands of years. The government even attempts to promote itself as a model for poverty elimination, urging other countries to follow suit. However, these grandiose statements are built on falsehoods, biases, and obfuscations. Hu Ping, a renowned expert and commentator on Chinese affairs, has criticized the Chinese Communist Party's claim of eradicating poverty in China as laughable, given the decades of poverty the regime itself caused. Following its declaration of complete poverty alleviation, the CCP held a grand national conference in Beijing to commemorate this achievement. Xi Jinping, speaking at the event, described the poverty alleviation as a miracle. Hu Ping refuted this claim, stating, "It's not a miracle at all, but rather quite ridiculous." He pointed out that the poverty created by the CCP over the past decades was unparalleled globally, and the so-called rapid development of the Chinese economy was merely a rebound from an artificially low starting point, making the current claims of poverty alleviation insignificant. Hu asserted that China's poverty 40 years ago was inconceivable, especially given the hardworking nature of the Chinese people and the country's rich history. He blamed the political and economic system of Mao Zedong's era for this poverty, citing disastrous campaigns like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, which resulted in tens of millions of unnatural deaths, an unprecedented event in history. According to Hu, the CCP's bloody land reforms, which resulted in the deaths of millions of landlords, and other political movements like the anti-rightist campaign, the Cultural Revolution, and the Tiananmen Square crackdown, hindered China from becoming a major global economy. He stated that the CCP's reforms were merely reviving elements that its revolution had initially destroyed, showcasing the utter failure of the revolution itself. Hu further criticized the CCP's past policies of land redistribution and class struggle, arguing that these were the main causes of China's poverty. He suggested that if China had not undergone such violent land reforms, its current economic status would be much more prosperous. Continuation of these policies, he warned, would have kept China in extreme poverty even today. In conclusion, despite the CCP's claims of having eradicated poverty in China, the country still faces significant unresolved poverty issues. These are further exacerbated by widespread corruption and abuse of power among CCP officials. Historically, the CCP's adoption of extreme and impractical policies, from steel production drives to the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, continues to harm China and its people even today.